Hello, everybody. And today we're here with Crystal. I spoke with her like 4 months ago. She did an interview, so you can find that on my YouTube as well. If you're just now seeing this is a follow-up interview to see how she's doing now. So I'm just going to turn it over to her and let her tell us how she's doing and what's been happening since the last time we spoke in May. So, Crystal.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me back. Not much has changed since we spoke, 4 months ago. What I didn't touch on 4 months ago is what I think is the cause of my targeting. Just a quick summary from 4 months ago. I've lost. We're talking about almost $800,000 now. I was forced to sell my beautiful home. I had to rehome my pets. I had $30,000 worth of furniture stolen. Um, I've lost the majority of my clothes. I've lost everything in between. So trinkets, pictures, knickknacks. I mean, I've literally lost everything, and I'm living out of two bags. And it's
I know how
sad
that
because
is.
I spent 28 years in the tech industry as a vice president. I had teams reporting to me, would travel the country. I was on an airplane every week, busting tail to do well for myself and to quite literally, have everything stripped away from me due to this program is very disturbing. And then, trying to go to the government, I had meetings with the Department of Homeland Security. And I don't think I talked about my meeting much with the Department of Homeland Security on my previous call, but a I had two friends in that meeting and one Department of Homeland Security employee in that meeting. And I go into that meeting. I've got 25 poster boards of dates, names, occurrences, what happened within those occurrences, laying out why I've lost all that I have lost, why my car has been vandalized, two abduction attempts, had my food poisoned, went through a directed energy attack so severe that an MRI showed that they just about chewed through and severed my cervical spine. But when I go into the Department of Homeland Security meeting, my friend of 17 years, ex-friend, her sister was pretty high up in the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, she had a team reporting to her, a direct line to the leaders in DC. And these two friends of mine were very, very close to me. Like, I would consider them really two of my closest friends. I was a mentor to one of them in our career. She also worked in the tech industry. And their demeanor, to go from giving hugs when you see someone, I lived in Dallas, they lived in Austin, the hugs that when you see somebody that you love and, hey, how's it going? It was like a switch had flipped in them. They were very, very serious. They were cold. They were distant. And it turned out that whole interview was scripted. Um, it was almost like they knew what I was going through and who was involved prior to me even going through my poster boards. Um, you could tell that they had been coached in how to do an interview with someone to make them look as unorganized and disorganized as possible. For example, if you've got 25 poster boards hung up on a wall, you go through one, you go through them in order, and they would ask me a question on poster board number 1, then pivot to poster board number 10, then pivot to poster board number 5, then from 5 to 19, then from 19 to 12. Because when I mention the names of those that are involved in my targeting, I've had loads of strangers involved in my targeting, but I have had loads of people that I know that are very powerful involved in my targeting: doctors, federal prosecutors, people in the tech industry, family members, ex-partners, that are all very affluent and powerful. But I mentioned, several names in particular, and it was almost like they got a deer in the headlights of, like I said, going into that meeting, the Department of Homeland Security, and I'd met her on a couple of occasions prior, just in a friendly, casual setting, knew what was happening to me and why, and completely shut me down. So they do a video recording of me during that meeting in Austin, Texas, and this was back in May of 2023. And then they send that video to DC of my interview. But because they went from poster board and they skipped all around and asked questions, and they wouldn't drill down on any of the names that I had, written on those poster boards, the feedback was, she sounds like a crazy rambling woman. When I give my presentations and give them in work, I'm always, very dialed in. And if it's a topic that I'm knowledgeable on, I give excellent presentations. So I've never gotten, feedback like that whenever I had everything laid out so nicely. Everything in my life has been destroyed, but I had really, that meeting with the Department of Homeland Security, that was my ticket to maybe getting justice. Because what we're going through, David, I'm sure you probably know, it is a 20-year minimum sentence. So gang stalkers, those that are involved in mass harassment, the minimum sentence, if you're caught, is 20 years. If the victim dies from it, of course, it's life. And it really doesn't matter if you're involved at a high, heavy level or at the slightest of levels. That's a 20-year sentence.
Well,
And,
Homeland Security
it was very
supposed to make,
disheartening.
and that's part of this program. They were supposed to make you sound crazy or look crazy. They were supposed to
Oh,
question it. And just like city councils, I've seen numerous target individuals go before city councils and they just look at them like, next. I think it's also
right.
like they're supposed to say that. Act like they don't know what's going on.
And I was naive to all of that when I went into that meeting. I really thought, hey, I'm a lucky lady that I've got a friend, ex-friend that has someone that works there. I mean, I really thought that was my ticket for everything ending right then and right there. People are going to go to jail. I'm going to get my life back. I'm going to feel safe again.
That was a
And
big
honestly,
letdown then, huh?
the biggest letdown, probably even made it worse because, because of the names that are involved and the importance of these people. And I think it maybe even made it worse for me. The people that are so powerful that I'm referring to, and there's 3 or 4 names in particular, David, they are in the highest level of the occult. I was having so much trouble in the state of Texas. I was having all 4 walls of both my personal house and professional house crumbling. I thought, I've got to get out of Texas. I'm having issues at work. I'm having issues in my friend circle. Friends are starting to act weird. Friends are, wanting to say that I'm violent. People are trying to get me arrested. I'm getting threats. I've had 2 abduction attempts. My son is off the chain, mean to me, calling me crazy, calling me a schizo. So I'm ready to just leave Texas. And so I placed an ad on a dating app in Denver, Colorado, because I wanted to move there and wanted to start making friends there. And, place this ad on the dating app. Boom, immediately I get a like. Someone that's very, very attractive, almost too good to be true, coming across an online dating app. And a very, very affluent family. It's a billionaire family, a household name. And I spent 2 weekends with them. And the second weekend that I was there, David, I was offered to, asked to sell my soul and take on a spirit. And I never knew those types of things existed, David. I led a pretty mainstream life of work hard, keep your head down, raise a son, try to have fun, um, and just like most people do. I didn't know that those things existed. The person turned out to be,
So you're in the middle of targeting when this happened, right?
yes, that is
Okay.
correct. That is
Did
correct.
you tell these people who approached you like that you were targeted?
I did. I was, was explaining why I'm wanting to leave Texas, and they were even privy because I would make phone calls um, in their presence regarding some of the things that were happening in my life. In fact, I was going through this abduction attempt that I was telling you about. I actually had a hit on my head. So they overheard conversations with, I paid $2,000 for a private investigator, and they sat through that. So they heard a lot of it, and they definitely saw that I was in dire straits, that I was freaked out, that I was like a cat on a hot tin roof, just kind of walking all arched back,
Mhm.
very, 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 very scared. And, comments were made that, I don't, you've been hurt enough. I don't want to hurt you anymore. And I took that to mean, um, because I've heard it, before, if you've got a big crush on someone and, you want to pursue a relationship with that person, but you find out they're married and then they make a comment, well, I've heard that 50 times in my 50 years, right? Because people want the cake and eat it too, have a relationship with you while they're still married. And will make the comment, well, I'm not going to leave my spouse, so I don't want to hurt you anymore. What that meant for the first time in my life was I'm the one responsible, the orchestrator for your targeting. You've been hurt enough. I don't want to hurt you anymore. Sell your soul, take on a spirit attachment, and all this will go away. So, the other comment was, listening to me complain about my targeting, being scared, losing everything, and the process of losing everything to include the relationship with my son was, how are we going to move past this? So there were enough hints dropped to let me know that the people that I posted an ad, because they monitor everything we do on our computers, on our internet activities. Every email that we send is monitored, this, that, and the other. So this person wasn't on the dating app. They got on the dating app because they saw me post, an ad. And like I said, it was an immediate like. And it was completely random because these people live in Spain the majority time of the year. They spend winters in Colorado. So I just so happened to, post this while they were in Colorado and, get that immediate like. And, come to find out they are the orchestrators for my targeting. They are the cause of me losing everything. They are the cause for the narrative. As you know, all targeted individuals there that are, and I am definitely on the terrorist watch list, are given a profile. Maybe you're an elderly abuser, you're a woman abuser, you're a pedophile,
Right.
whatever it is that they do. Um, they were responsible for everything. And what they're doing, David, and I'm very, very serious when I say this is the highest, can't get any higher levels of the occult that offered me, to sell my soul and take on a spirit, become very wealthy. The live in a castle with a moat was used. These are words leaving people's mouths. This isn't V2K or in my dream or a synthetic dream. This is, real time. They have infiltrated. I had a large friend circle, just because I was a very social person. Also my career, traveling the country 10 times over for 28 years. I knew a lot of people, but there's about 15 people in particular that I would consider my inner circle, your closest friends, ex-partners that, you were with whatever, 15 plus years, but you remained friends with post breakup. I have a very, very small family. There's not many left, mother, brother, nephew, my son, and me. That's all that's left in my family. Then, like I said, the last two exes that I was in long-term relationships with and had my son with. And then, whatever, 5, 6, 7 closest friends. Well, it would appear that these people went out to my inner circle and offered them that same test. Sell your soul, take on a spirit, you'll have grand things in life. They all passed the test. Whenever I got offered to do that, I had been horrifically abused. I could barely function because my neck was so chewed through. Like I said, it was to the point of looking at an MRI image that I have, chewed through my damn neck, and was just in excruciating pain, scared to death. They get the red carpet rolled out for their test, and I'm sure of it. But noticing the distinctive behavior and personality change in these 15 people around me, all of a sudden going from, and these are people I cared for, provided for, gave money to, told them I loved them every day, told them I was proud of them every day, as kind as possible to these 15 people in my inner circle, to all of a sudden acting like they hate me. All of a sudden making the most weird, random comments. Why are you acting violent? Or if you're having a discussion about the earth being flat, which that's my belief system, is the earth is flat, I'm calling the police on you. Like, trying to get me arrested. So since we've last spoken, I've had people trying to get me arrested. I've had death threats. I have been mocked, called mentally ill, crazy, all of these things, getting all of my TikTok videos where I'm trying to spread awareness banned, trying to get my account banned. My brother's very, very best friend is, was sending me hateful messages across 2 platforms. I have been begging these 15 people to help save my life, David, because they won't. And when I reach outside of those 15 people that have either worked for me or other friends that I've had, or just people that have known me throughout my 28-year career in the industry, knowing me for having it high integrity, fighting for others, doing the right thing, being kind, all the things that most people are. I tried my best to be those things. No one will come to my defense. They will have they will say those are the ones. Well, the ones outside of my inner circle, when they hear my story and I go into detail, because I got 130 slides on a PowerPoint presentation of the horror that I've been through, with examples, dates, names, occurrences, what's happened within those occurrences, and they're freaking mortified. But then the ones that are involved, David, it's like a canned response is, we don't believe any of it. We don't believe a single word you said. My brother thinks that I had an Adderall overdose, and at age 50 at the time, I'm 51 now, my mind suddenly cracked, and I'm just making up, going through 11 states trying to get away from this crap, up, losing my home, career, pets, clothes, furniture, trinkets. after being someone who's had a very, very good head on their shoulders in a professional and personal way, it's like that's their canned response. Because if they're involved and they say, and they can come back and say, well, we don't believe any of this. Because I haven't had any V2K. I mean, these are all things that have happened. I've got voice recordings. These are all things that have happened. We don't believe any
They
of
don't,
it.
well, see, they don't need it sounds like they don't need V2K because they blacklisted you, destroyed your life,
Uh,
they've stalked you, they've sent death threats, sabotaged everything. You know, some people they don't, they ain't even got to go that route. It sounds like, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to sabotage everything you do. And I know how it is. I lost all my, I'm like, wow, how we were just friends. You don't want to talk to me no more. I mean, what's going on? Everybody acting shady all of a sudden. I mean, I can relate 100%. And then then they put you in these scenarios that are so crazy that if you told somebody, they wouldn't believe it. They make up these
right.
scenarios that seems, yeah. So I
You
know
know,
what you're going through.
and I've definitely got some out there stuff associated with my story that as a percentage believe it and a percentage are like that's too out there. A lot of it is no way can someone be so evil in doing what they're doing to you and be able to get away with it. And I'm like, oh, but they can. My story will be one of the cruelest ever told. I know I've had emails that were based on artificial intelligence. I've had disappearing chat AI chatbot IO that overlay on your home screen on your phone that disappear messages. I've been called a pedo across 11 states. I know who you are. I know what you do. I'm being, I said this on my previous video. I know for a fact that they are setting me up. I feel because I told I was getting arrested. I was told I was going to be guillotined by these people that are in the occult. They told me they were going to eat my heart. I feel like because the occult, I mean, they're Luciferian, is what they are. At the low level of Luciferian, for public consumption view, it's a pretty beautiful little religion. It's easy for pretty much anyone to digest. It's love of nature, individualism, respect people when it deserves respect. Basic this kind of commandments of life that anyone's like, okay, that's palatable. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing scary about that. But there's levels within Satanism and Luciferianism where the higher you go up, they require more and more of you, and that is blood sacrifice. And at the levels of the people that are involved, in my instance, they're up there, and they do those sacrifices to their master. So I've been threatened with the scariest of the scary, and so people are like, they aren't going to use artificial intelligence to, because all it takes, David, is someone pulling a picture of you off of Facebook. You get a full body photo of you, and they can recreate a video of you robbing a bank, of murdering someone, hurting a child, hurting an animal, whatever narrative you want to give that artificial intelligence software, they can make it come to life on a video. And I was reading an article, I don't know, the other day, or it was talking about artificial intelligence being one of the beasts of Revelation. And I believe that 1,000,000%, certainly in my case. So, like I said, I have had one of the scarier, I think, instances of targeting and what's been said to me, what's been done to me, and what they say they are going to do to me. And so to not be able to get my closest family members that I've bought clothes for, that have spent countless hours with, loving them, helping them, all the things that you do with a family member. And David, I can get an old coworker or an old friend from high school to sit and listen to my story and what's going on, because I'm trying to spread awareness. But when you can't get a family member to have a family meeting and all hands on deck, Crystal's had 2 abduction attempts. She's always had her stuff together, and look, she's lost everything. Her life is being threatened. She's got Satanists saying that they can get 6 to 8 pieces out of their heart. Let's have it all hands on deck to figure out what we can do to protect her. When you can't even get a family member to agree to sit down and have a family meeting on how to block and tackle, they're involved. And there's so much money due to the people that are involved in mine. Literally, we'll give you $1 million if you get her arrested for saying the earth is flat. You know, the money is so thick. I mean, these people will even offer, like, we'll give you eternal life, you know, whether they're able to actually grant that or not. The things that are being offered are, you know, they're just grandiose, and you have people that run with it. And, you know, once you take on an entity, and again, David, I didn't know that stuff was real. They literally take over your body. It's mind control, and they drive it like a car. You're nothing more than a skin suit at that point, and a whole personality, a whole consciousness is running your skin suit. So if that entity gets hungry for McDonald's, they will get you off the couch and go to McDonald's and get a hamburger. If that entity wants you to go and hurt a child, they will get you off that couch to go and hurt a child. You're no longer in control. And so I'm just seeing some of the most bizarre supernatural things that are happening within my instance of targeting that has just freaked me out beyond belief. And then to not be able to get those people to help me, those are just the people that it's the canned response. We don't believe any of it. Whenever I can get, like I said, David, old coworkers, you know, friends that maybe were one step out of my inner circle, that I go through my PowerPoint slides. I tell them what's happened to me over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, and they're mortified. They're teary-eyed. They're scared for me, and are just flabbergasted as to what's going on. It's just those that have been bought and paid for, that have completely turned on someone that has been a good person their entire life. I'm not perfect by any means. You know, they're telling me they're targeting me because of something I did to their ancestors thousands of years ago. Past life stuff that I did not know existed. I led a pretty mainstream life, corporate America, work hard, raise a kid, try to have fun. Those 3 things. I never thought about past life, things that happens thousands of years ago, because you don't obviously remember. But apparently when you've got people that take on spirits, those spirits don't forget, if that makes sense. So I've got and it would appear that they control, you know, the government. It's one of the other things that I had posted or talked about in the previous video, David, was when I had to call the Richardson, Texas Police Department on my son, who was acting erratic, calling me crazy, calling me schizo, threatened me with a gun, hit my arm, acting completely out of character. And I mentioned me hiring a private.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm sorry. Could you continue? We had some psyops run on us.
Yeah.
And I guess they were doing it because I'm in the interview.
Yeah. So we took a quick pause, and going back to the Richardson, Texas, you know, police department. I had called them to my home because of what was happening with my son, and I wanted to have a conversation with them about my abduction attempts and just my safety in general. and their treatment of me was so disgusting. I think I said it in my previous video. It was almost like they were waiting for my call. I've got audio recordings of my son, me threatening to call the police on him. He wouldn't leave my home. Yet, he's telling people I'm violent. Well, I've been trying to get him to leave my home for months because the tensions were escalating and his behavior had come out of nowhere. Show up to my home, with their hand on their gun, not their spray or their taser, David. I'm 51 years old, 100 pounds, and they're quote, acting terrified of me. My son was not in that. I asked them to turn on the chest cam prior to entering my home, and my son wasn't in the video. And they start asking questions like, well, what's your diagnosis? And I didn't have to tell them that's a HIPAA violation, but I tell them PTSD, anxiety, depression, ADHD. And the officer's like, well, what else do you have? There's always something else. Like the tone in his voice, in the way, the treatment. Long story short, they refused to release that video recording, and they went to the Texas State Attorney General and got a code of 522108 slapped on it, which means you don't have to release a chest cam if that person is under investigation for a crime. So apparently I'm being investigated for a crime, although I have not committed any. I'm sure they have manufactured them, but it's everything in my life for the last couple of years has been scripted and directed by these powerful people in the occult. Because if I had my hands on that videotape, it would bust this thing wide open. It would go viral. The public would be mortified to see that the treatment of me on that tape. And David, it shows collusion. It shows we are going to set up an innocent woman for something big. And I didn't know at the time what that big was. I didn't know at the time I was being tracked by the occult. But I called the police on my son because I was having that call that I just spent $2,000 for with a private investigator regarding one of the abduction attempts, a hit on my head by a former boss. And he wouldn't get out of the kitchen. He was wanting to make food. And I'd asked him, hey, I just spent $2,000 on this call. Can you please not make food while I'm on this call? And I ended up putting my index and my pointer finger on his wrist to say, go back to your room. Listen to me. No, you're going to wait 30 minutes. As soon as I put my fingers on his wrist, he goes, you assaulted me. You assaulted me. I'm calling the police. I am like, what in the heck? He's 6'1", built like an athlete. Here I am, much, much smaller than him. So I end up calling the police on him because of the behavior. And that was the snowball effect of all of my targeting was that call. Just 2 weeks prior to that is when I got scared and didn't sell my soul and agree to take on an entity. So it was just a snowball effect from me not doing that to my son acting like I'm going to frame my mother for assault for touching my wrist with 2 fingers. And I can't get an attorney to get that, that chest cam released that would go viral. I've called 30 attorneys and they're all like, well, you've got to get arrested before they'll release that video.
So did they actually, I hate to interrupt you. Did they actually tell you, look, if you sell your soul, this targeting will stop? All this will
Yes.
stop?
Yes. And I would be very wealthy, live in a castle with a moat. And, there's lots of things that went into that conversation that are more suitable for probably a different podcast
Right.
that would blow your mind. And you'd be like, what? Whoa.
Right.
So let's just say that I would be living in Spain right now, 2 blocks from the Mediterranean Sea, with everything I could ever want in life, a very, very attractive people, being set up for extreme fame, fortune, power, you've heard of the New World Order, you've heard of the Great Reset, you've probably heard that terminology
So
before.
you think this was you think these were 100% a real offer? You think this offer was 100% real? You know what I'm saying? Because some people, like, you get them people on
Right.
Twitter, hey, you want to join this, you want to join that, or Facebook that message you. This was a real deal offer, right?
This is a real deal offer from people with family, with household names,
Right.
um, that have more money than they know what to do with. So I would have had extraordinarily amounts of protection, um, fame, fortune, all the
But you
things that
wouldn't
you
have,
hear that they.
but you wouldn't have had
Sorry,
your, but you wouldn't have had your soul no more, right?
that is correct. But I didn't know um, I would lose my life over it because, like I said, that what they are going to set me up for, and there's rumors on Truth Social, all the various social media outlets that there's going to be mass arrests coming up soon where they use the emergency broadcast system, engaging the military to take down a global satanic pedophile ring. And I truly feel that I have been signed up for that. And they will manufacture tangible evidence through the use of artificial intelligence that can make it look, like I said earlier, truly make it look like if you want to frame somebody for, hurting a child or hurting a woman or hurting an animal, you can use artificial intelligence.
But if you got an
It's
alibi where you were, a timestamp on where you were, your cell phones where you were, cell phones can pinpoint where you were when they said that happened. It's almost impossible to do it that way.
uh, well, I mean, you may be right. They would have a pre the based on the people. Look, these people do, like I said, these people do blood sacrifices, and the elite, they're called blood kill cults. I mean, they look for people that are born on a certain date under a certain moon. I mean, they do weird stuff. They've got tons of
Right.
money, so they've got all the time in the world to do weird stuff and obsess over weird stuff. Bloodlines and the moon and all these weird things are huge to them. And, like I said, they've already been able to stop court cases in my instance. I had to go to the EEOC myself to get an old boss fired for abuse. They busted up my mediation settlement. So they were able to go to a very large corporation and get them to say, well, Crystal had 10 witnesses that she was being extremely verbally abused by a boss. In addition to Crystal, several people on her team several people on the support staff team were. My mediation check was a sealed deal. So for them to be able to go in and do a stoppage on that, stoppage of me getting my money, worse yet, they went to that corporation and got the corporation to say, we're not paying her this money because it was Crystal that was the one that was abusive. So my attorney pretty much laid down his sword. So they went to the attorney, got my attorney to drop his sword. They got the corporation to somehow flip the script despite me having, 10 witnesses. So I went to the EEOC and got the lady fired. I didn't get a penny, but I got the lady fired based on the information that I had. So the whatever it is they're going to frame me with, there is a predetermined outcome for me.
So
And
they
that is
don't want you
whatever it
dead.
is.
They want you alive then, right?
No, they want me unalived. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Then why would they want
So,
you to go? It don't make sense. If they really want you unalive, they don't want you in jail. They want you free where they can get you. You see what I'm saying?
well, I would be turned over. This is all about embarrassment and doing sick, twisted. We're talking about psychopaths. And, if these are people that have taken on entities, then they're truly not even human anymore. So
I don't know about talk.
we're talking about psychopathic behavior. So, and I wouldn't be in jail. I would probably get turned over to these people and harmed in ways I don't even want to think about. You know, like I said, I tried to kill myself in February, and I've never been suicidal a day in my life ever. I used to think that that was just, you know, tragic that someone would want to end their own life. But when you've got your son, your brother, your last two exes that you had great relationships with, one for 28 years, all of a sudden making up a narrative of you that you're this horrific person when, you know, I mean, I was homecoming queen, class favorite, and Miss WHS, and elected to things in college, and elected to things in my professional career based on the fact that I had integrity and was a nice person. I risked my career twice for others trying to be a nice person, to people all of a sudden trying to force a narrative that I'm this bad, scary person.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so it would be a predetermined judgment for me because of the reach of these people, because of the power of these people, the influence of people. And I've witnessed firsthand. I mean, heck, just even the Department of Homeland Security, had they been an ethical organization, they could have nipped things in the bud immediately and given me my life back. So when you've got people that have that kind of influence, I mean, and the, you know, according to the Bible, Satan runs this world. He
Right.
also
But
runs the government. He
okay,
also
well,
runs the government.
what I was going to say is, so, or do you ever think though that some of your fear is exaggerated?
I wish.
I mean, because you know, I get V2K saying that I'm going to get my head cut off. I'm going to get cut piece to piece. I mean, I I get what you're saying, and I've seen
Mhm.
some TIs and that live in this fear, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And you know, some of it, if they would just learn how to see through it, would be able to manage better. You know what I'm saying? Like, because fear can stand for false evidence appearing real, or F everything and run, or face everything and rise. I mean, fear can stand for a bunch of different stuff. And I know I was in a point one time in 2018, like I told you, where I was getting on Facebook Live every day saying, well, this happens to me and you don't see me tomorrow, then, you know, so I know how that goes. I'm just saying, I hope it's some kind of mind control they got, or some kind of fear they're trying to keep you in, and that what you're saying, you know what I'm saying? That's what I hope. Because you seem like a
And
good person, you know?
well, I don't have I've never had V2K. So in the last 5 years, I haven't had any instances of V2K.
Right. Now
But
that's my experience.
but um but there's been, so the things that I'm saying, you know, one, I've watched the words leave their mouth, but there's also been actions behind it, you know,
Right.
losing something,
So you
or,
need to
you know,
think of a
being
plan of what I do from here. You know, you can't
right. All right.
a
So
plan of
yeah,
action.
you know, the plan of action is I am not going to allow myself to get arrested for crimes I didn't commit. So if that means, I, you know, it sounds pretty grotesque to even say this, but I was like, you know, I don't have the people that I lived for, provided for, that can't even give me the courtesy of getting me a family meeting to sit down to say, how do we block and tackle for Crystal? If I can't even get that, I can't get my son. I haven't spoken to my son in almost a year and a half. And now he's going around telling people I'm violent, yet I've got voice recordings that I can't get authorities to listen to because I had to buy a recording device, David, because everyone around me was lying. And so people didn't know I was recording them. People thought I was silly gullible, which I've always have been, would even buy a recording device, authorities to listen to those recordings of yeah, Crystal, you're violent. Well, get out of my house. You know,
Have you
I've been
ever
asking you
thought,
for months.
because you know, I done this as a TI. I went through so much energy trying to get them friends and family to believe me and accept me for who I was, and it never was going to happen. So I wasted energy. You know what I'm saying? So the ones
Mhm.
that are
Well,
listening to you, the ones who are giving you a place to stay and opening your ears, I would, you know what I'm saying, just,
but
that's,
here's the thing, they can't protect me from sealed indictments based on manufactured tangible evidence. So what am I going to do? I'm, n- like I said, this is
then again,
there's
it
about to be
could
a
be a
lot of changes.
psyop. It could be a psyop to make you think you're going to be arrested. Could
There
be.
are a lot of things. Well, we all have gifts. Everybody has their own gifts. My intuition is freakish. We are going through changes in the world. This is about, um, well, we can talk about that on another podcast, but you're talking about New World Order and Great Reset. All those things are real. All those things are very real.
Yeah.
So going back to what are my options? If I can't get the government to do the right thing, I'm not going to have my heart eaten. I'm not going to let them cut my heart in 6 to 8 pieces like this person said that they were going to do. And this is a billionaire person. I've got two choices. Do I try to jump off a cliff, or do I let myself get humiliated in front of the country for being some sick adrenochrome drinking baby child harmer that I would never do when I am a very, very empathetic person? Um, and just, allow myself to be handed over to these people that clearly have psychopathic tendencies, which I have my brother calls me a schizophrenic psychopath. He spits in my face. He's thrown me downstairs. Um, so so when I see, there is an element of supernatural involved in some of my stuff, and it goes back to, if you take on a spirit, you lose control of your body. Someone else, the man or the woman that used to reside in that body is gone, at least while they're under influence. And you all of a sudden have someone else driving that body. So the people that have been closest to me, I mean, I've seen such markedly changes in their demeanor and personality and everything. Um, yeah, what I've seen is enough to scare the most badass, strongest, war experienced Marine. Um, so, yeah, I'm just trying to spread awareness to my instance. I want people to know I didn't hurt anybody. I want people to know that the government isn't helping me despite having evidence. Granted, I don't have the money or software engineers or the expertise to jam out artificial intelligence of them doing crazy stuff to me and manufacturing it. So my evidence isn't going to be nearly as tangible as theirs, but I know they're going to have a predetermined outcome for me, and I don't want to stick around for it because it's disgusting. So, they really aren't giving me any options. And
Well,
I'm
I
so
mean,
depressed.
well,
What's that?
what I would do in that situation, I would start quoting Psalms 109 and
Yeah, I've read Psalms 90,
Psalms
101,
91,
103, 93, or 91. Yeah,
because
I've been,
if there's power in the negative spiritual world, there's power in the positive spiritual world. So I'm just saying I
yeah,
wouldn't just give up. I would, but that's just me personally. Psalms 109 is a
right.
very good prayer for people who sabotage you
Mm-hmm.
without for no reason. Um, I ain't got the Bible with me, but I
Yeah,
check it out. Psalms 109 is against. I mean, it was a curse that David said out loud, and and he cursed the people who was wrongfully doing him. It's a very, very powerful prayer.
I have
What do you have to lose?
re- I've religiously have read those prayers,
No,
whatever,
not
each one of
religious,
them.
spiritual.
Well, I have I have read those prayers continuously, for the last, few years, and one of the people that are involved in my in this, how those prayers working out for you, just with a devilish laugh. They're just making a mockery of it. So I'm not seeing any movement. So like I said, these guys are i- and it's hard when you've got because they can easily get people that aren't under the influence and you give them a batch of falsified information. You could pass that on, that sealed indictment, on to something with a bow tie on it. Here's all the information we've got on Crystal. They don't know that there was any type of demonic or any type of spiritual influence on that packet that they've constructed against me. So, there's so many moving parts, so many powerful people involved in mine, that they haven't, it hasn't helped, unfortunately. I'm going to keep doing it. But yeah, I don't feel like I have options. I mean, I'm very, like I said, I've got evidence, that this is happening. I've got voice recordings that this is happening. And if you look at my 130 slides, you can't get more detailed, in what has happened and who have done it. I mean, I've got federal prosecutors involved. I've got executives in the mental health field that are involved. My ex, who I've been close friends with for 28 years, she's a very respected counselor, a therapist, and she's heavily involved, to somehow, paint this narrative that I'm this horrible, violent person. Because I was posting on, I've been trying to be vocal on Facebook about what's going on. Here's how I'm being attacked. Here's what they're saying about me. And I forgot that, their sister-in-law or it was still a friend of mine on Facebook, because I tried to unfriend all the mutual people that we had. And this was just last week. Oh, Crystal, I see that you're playing the victim. Shall I tell the other side of the story? And this involves my son, who I gave the freaking world to. I spoiled him rotten. So they've created this storyline for me and they're sticking to it, and it involves my demise. You're going to see changes in the world over the next 2 to 3 years. We talked, prior to hitting record on this call, there are things in Revelation that are coming true. So we are seeing some biblical things happening today. And you will see it happen more, over the next 2 to 3 years. So, sadly, I don't know what to do, David, other than, just try to get my word out and have as many people as possible understand that I'm being set up, that I'm a good person. I would never hurt a soul. Um, Really, that's just my end game. If I have 100 people know that I'm being framed and set up, and I get, whatever, unalived tomorrow, we'll have 100 people that know I'm okay and a good person being set up, because they're going to go tell 350 million people in this country that I'm a terrible monster. And then have, um, people like my brother, my exes, my son give protected perjury, commit perjury, and it be granted as, we'll probably pay you for it, for the perjury, and not convict you for it, information.
We got about 3 minutes left. So what I was going to do is, ask whoever's watching this, if you're a TI and got any advice for Crystal, please give it. Me personally, and nothing, the stuff I've been through, nothing surprises me. So, I don't doubt what you say at all. I think they've built this fear up in your head, and they're trying to push you to do something like that, like what you were talking about, possible. Your two choices you got left, I think they're pushing that to make you scared, so you do it, and that it's all mind control. They do have the power to do that, and I hope I'm right. And I do ask
I would
any
love it if you
advice,
were right. I would love it if you
or
were
help,
right.
that any TI in the comments would like to give Crystal. She does read the comments, and Do you have anything else you want to end with?
No, other than David, I do hope that you're right, but the
I've seen
documented
it.
evidence, well, the documented evidence would say, I mean, these fears are real. I mean,
I know it seems real. I've been dealing with TIs. I'm a TI. I've thought stuff that wasn't real. I'm just saying, I hope
well,
it's
I'm
real.
saying there's been incidents that have happened and they're documented to show it's happening. It's not just mind control. These, you know what I'm saying, David?
Right.
Like I
I
said,
know
my
what you're saying.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And I hope you're not upsetting me
Um,
for saying what I'm saying, because
no, because it's real, and targeted individuals need to know that because I mean, and I
right.
there is that element there without a doubt. And so
But
you gotta
I
cover.
don't think them are your only two options. I think if you really think and sit down and get spiritual with it, there's an answer somewhere besides the other
Thank you.
two options. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Of
saying. I
course.
really think if you just
Hmm.
brainstorm, turn to your spiritual side of yours, you'll find an answer.
Thank you.
And I'll be praying in the spiritual world for you and putting positive energy and definitely me and Holly will be. And
Thank you. I appreciate it, David.
but please read the comments, because people do reach out and comments
Hmm.
on my YouTube. They are good about reaching out and giving advice and helping and all that. So yeah, please read the comments. You got anything else you want to end with?
No, I appreciate what you
And I
do,
will put
David.
your YouTube, if you want to know more about her story, she does have a YouTube channel. I will put that link in the description. That way you can hear more about her story, because she does tell her story on her YouTube channel. Right?
Thank you.
You
Thank
got
you.
two videos. Yeah, no problem. And I'm gonna end the interview right now.